hate mail after the Olympics because that internationally, sport among the athletes rides over politics. I blew out my elbow. I'm all done. I'm finished. I'm not a discus thrower. I'm a washed-up javelin thrower.
Welcome back, track people. We have a real treat for you here today. We have Mac Wilkins, a man who set the world record 4 times, one of the greatest discus throwers in the history of the sport. Mac, please say hi to the people.
Hello, good morning. I'm glad to be here with you, Brandon.
Awesome. So, Mac, I wanted to start out with your career just to let the people know about, who you are and the accomplishments that you have in the ring. Can you tell people about your childhood and what led you into athletics as well as throwing in general?
Sure. When I was a kid, I just loved to play. I wanted to be outside playing all the time. And oftentimes it would be some sort of a game or a sport or something. We'd try and set up a home run derby stadium in our neighborhood on someone's yard, and the tree in the middle didn't count. And it was always a challenge to try and find a game that we could play that would be interesting and challenging for everybody. And when you have 4 or 5 year age difference and skill differences and with your little brother or little sister, and you got to get them involved, and it was always a creative challenge. But as long as the sun was up, as long as we could see outside, we were out there playing, and I just love to play sports. I'm not sure what that thing is. I think obviously there's an intrinsic appeal to physical activity and to playing a game that is universal, and certainly that became apparent to me when I competed internationally. But
when was the first time you touched a discus?
The first time I touched a discus, I think, I was a junior in high school, and that's a little bit late, I think, for most people. But they didn't have discus in middle school, in junior high, and as a sophomore, the last game of the basketball season, I broke my wrist, and so no discus or shot put for me as a sophomore in high school. So as a junior in high school, I was actually introduced to it, and
that's awesome. Well, I guess it's never too late.
Yeah.
I guess you guys heard it here first. The best discus thrower of all time only started when he was a junior. So athletes, I guess you can get out there even if you're a junior or a senior and see what happens. So awesome. So in high school, what was your competition success like, and how did that lead you into college?
When I was in high school, I played football as a sophomore, and then we moved. I played basketball, and I did track. I ran high hurdles, threw the shot. As a senior, I moved to a school where they had the javelin, so I picked up the javelin, tried to throw that a little bit. And I really wasn't sure if I was going to be able to continue to compete in sport in college. I just didn't know if I was good enough. And I really didn't. I got excited when I got a letter of interest from a community college to play basketball. And so I thought that was a big deal. And as time went on, as I got closer to my graduation time, I realized, well, maybe these people say I can do this. I guess I can. So why not? Let's try and do sports in college. It's much more than just intramurals or something like that. Okay, let's go. I finally ended up in track. I met Bill Bowerman down in Eugene, talked to him, and decided that, again, if he thinks I can be on the team, then okay, I believe him. I'm not sure myself, but it sounds like fun. Let's go. Let's do this.
So you were doing basketball in college?
No, basketball was only in high school.
High school, okay.
Yeah, and I think, I wasn't even sure until May of my senior year in high school that basketball was not going to be in the picture as a freshman in college.
Gotcha. So I'm assuming it was only discus then in college?
And when I got to college, I did all three. And on Sunday mornings, Bill Bowerman would come out after church. He'd have his suit and tie on and his nice his Sunday outfit. And he'd come out on Sunday morning and coach me in the javelin. And the rest of the week, I was a shot and discus thrower. So that was my javelin experience. And I started the season at 240 in the javelin and ended up at 257 as a freshman.
That's incredible.
So I thought I was a javelin thrower. I thought that was my natural event, my best event. And then start my sophomore year, I blew out my elbow, and I didn't know how bad it was going to be or how bad it was, but it was bad. And Tommy John had not blown out his elbow and had the surgery to fix it yet. And so I couldn't see that coming down the road some years later. So I went back to the shot and the discus, and I picked up the hammer to finish out my 2 years of college to keep my scholarship. And then I thought, maybe I'd get a job and go sell insurance or something, and that would be the end of my life. I just, I blew out my elbow. I'm all done. I'm finished. I'm not a discus thrower. I'm a washed up javelin thrower. But I stuck with the shot, disc, and hammer to keep my scholarship. And after moping around for a few months, I finally tried a little harder, and it got better, and it was fun. And I wanted to repeat that fun feeling of improving, of learning and throwing it farther. And one thing led to another. And so by the end of my senior year, I was NC2A champion, and I was U.S. national champion in the discus. And 2 years earlier, I was a wash-up javelin thrower. So kind of a funny path. I mean,
yeah. And so after college, when did you start to believe that you could go pro with this?
Well, yeah, actually, back in those days, there was no pro, but I know what you're saying. You're saying, can you compete at the Olympic level? Can you compete internationally and somehow survive and make a living doing this? And I kind of got that feeling when I was a senior in college, when I won the NCs, and I also won the U.S. national championships. I beat the guys who were in the Olympics the year before, the American guys. And I said, I don't know how much better I can get, but if I just stay at this level, and I was number one that year, obviously, if I stay at this level, I could probably make the Olympic team in 1976. And I think I can do better. I'm not sure, but I think I can do better. And this is a lot of fun. So I'd like to keep trying to do this. And it was never a big dream, an ultimate goal of mine to compete in the Olympics. It was always, I just think I really like doing this, and it's fun, and I know I can do better. I really enjoy the learning process. I know I can do better, and I want to just keep doing better and better and better. And the Olympics, being in the Olympics was, oh yeah, that'll happen if I just keep doing this. That's no big deal. That's not the goal. The goal is to do better and better. And, So
your original aspirations for the 76 Olympics was just to get there?
Wasn't even after I was national champion in 1973, I looked at it as, if I don't get there, I'm probably going backwards. If I do get there, it means I'm staying at the same level or improving. So I should get there. I hope to get there. I don't want to go backward in 3 years.
Absolutely.
So that's the way I looked at it. It was just a marker. It wasn't really a goal necessarily, just a check mark of, yeah, okay, you're improving. And that's the main thing.
Did you think that you could medal at that Olympic?
In 1973, no. In 1974, no. In 1975, no. I was, in the pack, wasn't consistent. I was consistent, but consistently inconsistent enough so that there was no way of knowing if I was going to be number one or number four or number eight. but in the top 10 for sure, those years. And I didn't really think about a medal until the start of the 1976 season. And at that point, the medal became like making the Olympic team. I expect to get a medal, and if I don't, I will have performed poorly and I will have gone backward. But I opened 1976 basically with 4 world records. And so, yeah, you probably expect to win a medal that way.
Absolutely. So your all four world records were done in 76?
Yes.
Awesome. Tell the people a little bit about the story of the world records, because it sounds like they were all set within almost a week of each other, and 3 of your 4 world records were set on the same day, throw after throw, which is an incredible story. Can you tell the people about how that happened and what that felt like?
Sure. Well, the first one was at Mount Sac in Los Angeles, basically. And actually what had happened was that I'd been making progress, but it hadn't come out yet in my distance or in my performance in a competition from the end of 1975 until the start of the 76 season. And so all this improvement had built up, and here it was going to pop out and show itself. And so I'm warming up, and one of my teammates said, "Hey, you're doing really good. Those are 69 meters. They're about 69, 70 meters. They're right out there on that line." And I said, "No, I think you're mistaken. That's probably 65-meter line." And so I'm throwing, 212, 213 instead of 227, 229, 230. He said, no, I'm real sure. And this guy was a 400-meter hurdler. So I really didn't trust his judgment for some reason, even though there's markers right there. But, they can put the markers, they can place them incorrectly and be off. But so I thought, oh boy, well, that's interesting. Maybe he is right. And get in the competition, and yeah, he was right. I had a couple of throws that weren't great, and they went really far, over 220 feet, life record, and had a decent throw, and it was farther still. So it was kind of odd. That was also the day where I didn't even know if I could barely get out of bed. I had to have Dr. Leroy Perry work on me twice before the competition for about 30 minutes. I did something to my back, and I just could hardly get out of bed. Could have been a career-ending thing, actually. So he worked on me and fixed not just my back issue, but my whole body was working better as a result. And so, yeah, I was primed for that. And I had kind of peaked. I was trying to have, a top performance, a good performance early in the season. And so the next weekend, the competition was at San Jose State, which is the home field and alma mater of my chief rival at the time, John Powell. And I just followed the training plan.
And so the other 3 world records were all set on the same day, throw after throw after throw. Is that correct?
Right, at San Jose State, yes. Wow. They were. And the thing that I'm still impressed by, I guess I could say my performance, but the thing was, I approached the first throw. I said, okay, I just want to be nice and relaxed. I'm going to back off a little bit, be nice and easy and rhythmic about the throw. And I was able to do what I planned to do. And that's not always an easy thing. And so I did that, and it was a life record, which at the time was also the world record. And the second throw was okay. So I was relaxed and easy. Now you can go after it a little bit. And oftentimes when you go after it, you have a complete disaster. I did go after it a little bit, and I got into it, and it was another life record. And the third throw, I said, okay, now we really have to be on balance. Let's focus on our balance. And I started the throw, and as soon as my right foot came up off the ground, it felt like I was in wet cement from about mid-thigh down. And I was just, how slow can you go? And I was working so hard, and it was a third life record. And so to be able to plan 3 throws in a row and execute them according to your plan and have them result in an improvement, that's what really sticks in my mind. Oh yeah, by the way, they're world record, but it's a life record, and you so rarely get 2 life records in one competition, and let alone 3. But and then to plan each throw and to execute the throw and to have the result be an improvement is that was probably the highlight of one of the highlights of my competitive effort as a thrower. So
looking back on it, which one gave you greater excitement or happiness, I would say? Was it winning the gold, or was it setting the world record? Because for the people, those weren't done at the same competitions.
Right. Totally different. One was in a big, huge stadium, and one was out on a fairly open field. They're different. I know that having a gold medal has opened a lot of doors for me. Having a gold medal announces to people, somebody here has done something unique. Being a world record holder, it's also special, but not quite the same cachet, not quite the same gravitas or power of entry to a situation as a gold medal.
Perfect. And when you won that gold medal, was there just a lot of cheering in the stadium? And tell us about that moment.
Oh yeah. So it was actually kind of embarrassing. It kind of seemed a little bit to me like a college football game, and I'm throwing the discus in front of all the frat bros, and they're a little over exuberant, and all of the USA kind of seemed, come on, this is yeah, okay. I'm from the USA, and I'm glad of it and proud of it and so on. And the interesting part was my rival John Powell was competing and doing well, and he and I weren't real good friends, but I did have a friend who was competing from East Germany, Wolfgang Schmidt, and we were good friends. Wolfgang on his last throw was in 3rd place behind John, and then on Wolfgang's last throw, he improved and moved ahead of John and the silver medal. After his throw, the result goes up on the board, and I go over, pick him up, and give him a big bear hug, pick him up in the air, and a lot of people saw that as it was a slap in the face to John, and why am I so happy for a communist success, beating a teammate, and what's the matter with you? You really are a weird guy, not a patriot, and let's run you out of the country, and so on and so forth. And you guys
were friends.
We were friends. And here's the deal: the thing I mentioned a bit ago is that sport has a common attraction to everybody. It's also a common bond, and internationally, sport among the athletes rides over politics. And I wasn't looking at this guy's a communist and I hate his guts. So this guy's a friend. I like him, and he just did great. Now, he beat a teammate. Okay, that's the way it goes, but he's a friend and he did well. I'm happy for him. And by the way, nobody thought about this, but I was happy for him because he didn't beat me. So I wanted that gold medal. And that's the simple explanation for the story, that I got a lot of hate mail after the Olympics because of that, because of the things I said about the U.S. Olympic Committee and their lack of effectiveness or lack of ability, their unwillingness to understand the problem and help the athletes. Basically, they gave us an airplane ticket and a uniform, and they took care of our room and board while we stayed in the Olympic Village, and that was about it. And they came from an era way back, way back, and it was very paternalistic and just listen to me, I know what you need, and blah blah blah. And these guys were truly not people who had competed as athletes, not people who knew what an athlete needed to compete at a high level. And you know, after that Olympics, they had some big, not an investigation, but there was a study and a group analyzed things. They looked at stuff and they came out and said, yeah, we've got to change the way we do things, and we need to focus on what the athlete needs, what are the priorities for the athletes. And to a large extent, they've changed. They've made that change. And now they have a lot of things set up. Everything is focused on what does the athlete need? What's best for the athlete?
Awesome. Well, shifting gears here, now that people understand your accolades and the tremendous accomplishments of the world record and the gold medal, people often say that, you know, great success comes from small details. So I wanted to start off with some things that athletes might even overlook. And one of the things that I see even young high school athletes is the lack of a warm-up. Can you tell people about how important it is a warm-up, not only for the ability to throw far, but the big thing is preventing injury?
You know, the warm-up can be accomplished by a variety of activities, but there needs to be something that gets your heart moving, gets your body moving, muscles contracting, and maybe a little neuromuscular stimulus as well. But you can't just walk out there cold and try and do something that can be a very violent activity. For example, throwing the javelin. You do need to get yourself ready for this violent activity, for this full-out effort. You won't be able to do it as well as possible if you're not warmed up and ready. And yeah, as you mentioned, injury is a high probability, a much higher probability. You get hurt, you can't do it. So I know as time went on and I got older and the training load got heavier, it took longer and longer to warm up, to feel like I could move. I guess oftentimes that's a result of overtraining, but that's what happens when you're, you know, doing this for your life career.
When you're trying to get warmed up as a thrower, does that mean almost breaking a sweat, or does that just mean you feel warm?
It could be both. It depends on the weather. I mean, on cold days, you're probably not going to break a sweat. If you can break a sweat on a cold day, that's probably a good thing, but maybe it's because you're warming up inside. You know, I don't think you have to run 800, 1,600 meters to get ready to throw the discus or the shot. That's not necessary. But there can be some jogging movement to get your body going, some easy stride, not full sprints necessarily. Maybe you can get to a full sprint, but you have to be practicing that. You have to work into it. You have to know what it's going to do and how to do it. You don't want to expend all your energy in the warm-up either. The warm-up is not the competition. You want to save everything for the competition. So, absolutely. Yeah, if you're sweating, I mean, if it's a warm day, you're probably not going to have a lot of outer gear on, and you may get sweaty, but you don't have to get sweaty to feel warm. You may want to have some extra gear on to keep your body warm, but yeah, you don't want to show up in flip-flops and shorts and a t-shirt and then put on your throwing shoes and say, okay, I'm ready to go. That doesn't work. You also use the warm-up as a time depending upon how serious you are and how advanced you are in your training and your performances. The warm-up is also a time to prepare your mind to go over the things that you want to do while you're making the throw. You can plan the next few minutes or hours until the competition, and you know what you're going to do, and review the steps and get your mind in the right place, focused on the right things. That's something that you can accomplish during warm-up as well.
Absolutely. For the people at home that maybe they have some equipment that the school provides, or maybe they have their own equipment that's old, can you tell the people about the advantages of taking that first step and getting their own implement that they're able to train with?
Well, sure. I mean, the object is you've got to have something to throw, and if you're throwing the discus, throwing one discus in a workout is not real productive. 2 is better. 4 is best. 4 or 5 is the best number to have to throw. So you can take a set of 4 or 5. And if your school coach can't loan those to you, you've got to find a way to get a quantity of implements to make a workout worthwhile.
So what's the advantage in one discus and you throw it and then you have to go out and get it every time, versus say having a couple discuses? What's the advantage in learning your technique?
Right, it's a repetition thing. It takes thousands of repetitions to master the movement, to understand the feeling in the first place, and then to understand what you're trying to do and try and make those changes. It takes thousands of repetitions, and it doesn't happen. If you have one discus, you can take 20 throws in an hour and a half. You're walking all over the place, and you're going to have to walk out there to pick them up, whether it's 1 or 4. So why not take 4 throws and then walk, and then take 4 more? If you take 1 throw and walk, and 1 more throw and walk, and you spend all your time walking,
yeah, and not
you might as well just go for a walk and not even throw. What's the purpose?
Absolutely.
If you want to be a better thrower, you've got to have more repetitions, clearly.
Is it true? I've also heard that when you're practicing and you have a heavy emphasis on technique, that as soon as you throw, if you have to go out and go pick up your implement and come back, you've kind of forgotten what you just did, as opposed to you just threw and you have another discus laying there so that you can pick it up and correct some kind of technique that just occurred. Is there any truth to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yes and no. I mean, sometimes you're walking out there to pick it up and you forget what happened, or sometimes you walk out there and you come back and you can't repeat the magic feeling that you just had, and that's incredibly frustrating, but it does happen all the time. And sometimes you walk out there and you think about what you just did, and you come up with a plan for the next set of throws, and the walking time is absolutely needed for evaluating and planning, and you can't just keep going throw after throw. If you had 50 discuses in a bin, you wouldn't take 50 throws nonstop. You'd get tired, you run out of gas. You need a break in there to think about what you're doing. So the walking can be a good thing. If you only got one discus, it's probably not of value. I mean,
right.
It's yeah.
Some questions that parents might have is what's wrong with the old equipment that the public school provides? But at least from our perspective, we see athletes always gain distance, by using higher rim weight, higher quality discs, as opposed to the 10, 15-year-old implements that the school's providing. What kind of benefit can an athlete see with getting higher quality implements that are newer?
Yeah, I think the quality of the implement can have a big effect on the result. And again, it comes down to the situation is going to be different with everybody. You don't want to buy 5 $900 discuses to go out and practice, especially if you're a 100-foot discus thrower, boy or girl. even if you're a 200-foot discus thrower, you probably don't need that. You want to have a good competition discus for sure, and that's where it can make a difference. The rim weight is something to take into consideration, but the thing that I chuckle all the time is like the parents, they want to buy the best implement for their child, so we're going to go get that $900 implement even if our kid's a beginner. And the $900 implement is made for the international Olympic class professional athlete who's one of the best in the world, and it's not going to help a beginner or a 150-foot thrower in high school. There are discuses that have rim weights that are appropriate for that range of throwing ability, but it's not the $900 discus, that's for sure.
Absolutely. It's very important to match the athlete's skill level to the discus, and that's why some of our lower spin discuses, like our green disc, is our low spin. We also have medium spin. They're some of our most popular discuses. They're not an extremely high rim weight, but they're very popular because, frankly, most athletes need a low or a medium spin. So.
Yeah, exactly right. And in some cases, depending again on the situation, the athlete may be throwing a rubber discus. If you want to throw 4 or 5 discuses in a set, you've somehow secured the circle in the field and you're the only one there. Yeah, you're going to have to throw anything that's round pretty much. Don't worry about having it be, big, expensive, high quality discus. Throw a discus, throw a rubber one, anything that works, and make sure you've got a good one for competition.
Perfect. And as a reminder for everybody, Mac actually still has created courses and does training with people, and he has websites that support that. But Mac's been actually kind enough to give us some technique tips for free on these calls. So we're going to go through some just critiques of technique and see, like, I guess, where the biggest leverage opportunities are. But just as a reminder, Mac can't really get into all the details. He's going to give us an overview. But if you guys want to get expert coaching with some phenomenal courses, Mac has that available for sale. I wanted to talk about the torque and separation. It seemed like some of the main premises of an excellent discus throw are found in the torque and separation. Can you explain to people what that is referring to and how they can focus on that?
Sure. The torque separation, it applies to the shot disc, javelin, and the hammer as well. Basically, you're getting your body wound up, twisted up. The upper part is wound behind the lower part, and if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to apply force to the implement as long as possible, and it's not going to go as far. And if you don't have that separation and torque, you're not going to be able to use your lower body, which is where your big strong muscles are, and it's going to be an upper body throw, which is smaller, weaker muscles. And the tendency for a shot putter or discus thrower is to use the muscles they have the most control of, which is basically their head and their arms and shoulders. And so they'll make the throw primarily powered by the arm and shoulders, and it's not going to go very far, and it'll feel like a really heavy implement, and it'll feel pretty yucky actually. And so the determining factor as they improve every step of the way till their final life record is how much separation can they get? How much more separation can they get? How much farther ahead of the shoulders can they get their hips when they land in the power position and turn and deliver? And how much farther back and down and around can they keep their head and shoulders and upper body?
So for context for people, when Mac is talking about torque and separation, he's talking about at your hips, right? You're twisting in the throw. And so how much more can you twist your upper body around, right? So that you're all wound up when you land in the back of the ring, so that you have a huge circle going around where the discus is at the high point, going around and up. Because if you're not twisted, it's like you're not wound up as much and you don't have as much potential energy. So when he talks about technique or separation, he's talking about how much you could twist the upper part of your body around with your legs still being in position. Is that correct, Mac?
Yeah, that's right. They talk about the same thing in golf, and I think they say it's the X factor, and the line from left hip to right hip, and the line from left shoulder to right shoulder. They get twisted and they make an X, and without that, you have no power. Your path of delivery is shorter, and you're using your weaker upper body muscles. You've got to use your whole body, but primarily the lower body provides the force, and that's a skill and a feeling that has to be learned, and it's part of the technique. And the better you get at it, the farther you're going to throw. It's pretty much that's the bottom line, pretty much.
Perfect. One of the foundational keys that you said to the discus throw is rhythm. And can you explain how rhythm, because I understand speed, right? And I understand strength of, one of the things that you're saying is hey, you got to use the power of the lower body, with your glutes, your quads to project force. And obviously everybody knows the faster you go, the further you're going to fly. But what was really interesting is although you use power and speed, the key thing you said was rhythm. How does that all tie in together?
Right. When I say rhythm, I talk about two things. I talk about speed, velocity, and I also talk about the path of the center of mass as it moves from the back of the circle to the front of the circle. I talk about two things. I talk about speed, velocity, and I also talk about the path of the center of the mass or center of gravity. And generally speaking, it's got to be a long and slow to a shorter and faster rhythm. And it's initially there will be a slow to fast path, and then it becomes more asynchronous. So it's more slow to fast, faster. And that's the result of your ability to perform the movement, and usually when you get towards that, you're at the higher end of performance. You'll be
so when you're saying slow to fast, faster, that's all within a single throw.
Yes, it's kind of an asynchronous thing. And initially, to tie that together with the movement, it's a result of the right leg. I talk about the right leg. The right leg is the right leg engine. So on the first turn in the shot or the discus, the right leg should be long and wide. And so it's going relatively slow, and it's a relatively long lever. And as you come to the middle, you'll shorten it, and it will be shorter, and your rotation will increase, and you'll go faster. And that's what you're trying to do, is go long and slow to short and fast. And this change in the speed, the amplitude, is what creates the rhythm. And you've got to have that rhythm. A lot of throwers are pretty much just one speed, and they don't have the rhythm. And if they don't have this rhythm where they accelerate in the middle, they're not going to create torque. They're not going to create the separation, which makes the thing go far. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Most people would think as a beginner, you just want to go as fast as you can out of the back of the ring. But you're saying slow, it's like bop, bop, bop. Like you're
exactly.
How does going slow at the beginning of a throw when you're coming out of the ring help? Can you explain that one part?
Sure. On the first turn, you want to go slow so you can have a long and wide right leg. If you go fast, your right leg is going to be short and close to your body and going fast, and you'll stop, you'll stall, you'll die. The velocity will drop dramatically in the middle because you're going to land hard on your right foot, and you can't go faster. You're already going as fast as you can on the first turn at the back of the circle, usually on your left foot if you're right-handed. So use your leverage of your limbs, particularly your right leg. It's got to be long and wide. Everybody has seen or can imagine the figure skaters in ice events, the Olympic Games, or the what do they call the ice follies or whatever. And so they'll start out, they'll go into this spin. They'll have their legs and arms will be fairly far from their body. They'll pull them in. As they pull them in closer, they go faster and faster. And that's an easy concept to keep in mind. That's what you're trying to do in the shot and the discus by pulling your right knee in. If you don't let it go out, it's not going to have any power and you won't accelerate.
Gotcha. So by going fast, sometimes people are kind of becoming closer to themselves, whereas you want that right leg and especially your arms to be as far out as possible to
Right.
create that rotation.
Right. It's easier to keep your arms a little bit farther out than the right leg for beginners. Beginners just have to learn that the right leg has to be wide, and to be wide with your right leg, you have to go a little slower. And you can go faster in the middle if you're slower at the start. So that's kind of one of the paradoxes of the throw. You've got to do the opposite of what you think you need to do. And as you get better, it's a result of doing that better, going slower. And so you can create more leverage, so you can go faster in the middle and the front, and the increased velocity translates to a longer throw. So
awesome. One of the, and I know that you said that there's 3 foundational keys, and there's I think about 9 checkpoints. I wanted to focus on the 3 foundational keys in this first interview, and see how we can edit the videos to show the people what you're talking about.
Fine.
One of the things I think is very easy to show in a video is the high point of the orbit to optimize leverage and velocity. And I think also high point tying in with how far out you can also get your arms. I know those are kind of 2 separate points, but I think those are 2 things that we can very easily visually show the audience in the video. Can you explain to people the importance of the high point, as well as the importance of extending out your arms and creating a bigger circumference?
Sure. And you talked about the 3 foundations. The first one would be the rhythm. The second would be the high point. The third would be being on balance. And usually it'd be rhythm would be first and balance second, but high point third. But it doesn't matter. The whole thing is all about. And I don't know if you have you seen my video that I did on the high point. I'll have to send it to you. Okay. I'm doing a demo, and it's me from the last 6 to 9 months, and it looks kind of goofy, but easily to reproduce with someone else. But so it comes down to leverage and radius. So you can imagine you have a ball on the end of a string or a rope, and the string is 8 inches long, and you spin that ball around your head and you throw it. And then the contrast to that is you've got a ball on the end of a string or rope that's 28 inches long, and you swing that around your head and throw it. And without even seeing a picture or a video of this, which one's going to go farther? Which one do you think would go farther?
The one that's further out. I mean,
the one with the longer string.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So pretend your arms are the string.
Right. If you're throwing something from here.
Right. Are you
versus
going to be
throwing something from here?
Right. Throwing it like a orangutan, or throwing it like a T-Rex.
Absolutely.
Or an alligator. You know, alligator arms are real short. Obviously, you don't want short arms. And so the issue is when you're standing straight up and down, and you put your arms up in the air so that they're sticking straight out at 90 degrees to your trunk, that's the maximum leverage. That's the maximum radius, is 90 degrees from your trunk. And if your hand drops down, it's a shorter radius from the center of your trunk to your fingers. If your hand goes up, above the 90-degree point. It also shortens the radius. And this is easier shown in a picture, but imagine you're standing next to a wall. You can put your arm at 90 degrees and you scoot up so you just barely touch the wall. Now, let your hand drop down a foot and you won't be touching the wall. And so you can see there's a gap there, and that gap is the loss of radius from lowering your hand. Now, how does this affect the discus throw? Well, to maintain that longest possible radius, you have to keep your arm pretty much at 90 degrees to your trunk. And when you're getting into the power position, your trunk, your upper body will be tipped over, tipped back a little bit. And if you maintain that 90-degree position, the discus will be at the top of your head or above your head. And if the discus is below that, like down at shoulder height, you've shortened your radius. You've lost radius. So that's why you have to get the discus up over your head for a high point in the orbit to keep this maximum leverage with the arm at 90 degrees. You can also think of it just like a hammer throw. Hammer throwers don't spin around with the plane of the orbit flat or parallel to the ground. They spin around and there's an angle to that orbit. The ball goes up in the air.
Right, because the direction that you're throwing in, the ball is at a high point, and at the back of the ring, it's at a low point. He's saying that that's not just true for hammer throw, but also for the discus as well.
Exactly. And so early on, you want to learn this path so it's locked in and it's a permanent part of your movement. If you have to learn it later on, it becomes a little more difficult to learn because there's no real, in my mind, well, if you do this and hold your hand that way and think about that, it'll work every time. That doesn't happen. You just have to get the discus, take the discus up over your head. Make sure that you drag it with a relaxed arm and shoulder up to a point where it's up over your head. And that might sound kind of silly, but it's simple, but it can be a little bit challenging to do if you haven't done it ever before. So sometimes you have to go to the weight room and stand in front of a mirror and put the discus up over your head and say, yeah, this is where I should be. Oh, that feels really weird. That's not what it feels like to me that it should be. And here's what feels normal. And then you look in the mirror and say, oh, that's really bad. I don't want the discus there. So it's great to have a mirror as a coach.
Absolutely. And for everyone at home, these kinds of techniques are very difficult to discuss in such a short interview, which is exactly why Mac has built, very, very long courses that go into extreme detail on showing you all of this with proper video analysis. So if you're looking to get more in-depth knowledge and seeing how we can take these principles and apply them to your athletes, the course and the coaching is definitely the way to go. Mac, wrapping this up, I was curious, do you still coach people in person as well in your local area?
Actually, Brendan, I still do coach people in person. They've got to come see me. I mean, they can bring me to them, but then it becomes a question of time and money and things like that. But yeah, I still work live. I still work face to face. And whether it's one day, 1 hour, one weekend, a week, a month, whatever.
How often do you come this way to Spokane, the east side of Washington State?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
How often do you come to this side of the state in Spokane? I know that we have the Ironwood Classic and Camp that you've attended before.
Yeah, probably not often enough.
Yeah,
not often enough.
Because I know that Simon Roselli, who's leading the nation in the high school discus, is in our area. And Mac was actually kind enough to sign a Nishi discus for Simon. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, he's a special talent, no question.
Absolutely. I think he's been. He's planning to go to Oregon. So
I think so. Yeah.
Awesome.
That'll be exciting.
Great deal. Well, thank you, Mac. I appreciate your time, and it's been just a real treat to have a world record holder and gold medalist and just a legend in the sport to take the time out of your day to speak with 4Throws, as well as all of our athletes that are following us. So thank you for all that, and we'll be sure to link any of his courses and coaching into these videos so that the people can get exactly what they need, because buying a high quality implement is only half the battle. I mean, the technique is extremely important in the throw. So.
My pleasure. Thanks, Brandon.
Thanks, Mac. Take care.